We all share this fundamental kind of exhausting secret. It's the sheer amount of energy we put in every single day, just keeping up the illusion that we're stable.
Yeah, it's like an emotional battery drain, isn't it?
Yeah.
We pour massive resources into appearing, well, sane, balanced, completely normal. We become masters of that facade.
We really do. And that effort gets rewarded, at least for a while. We get incredibly good at drawing these tight, invisible lines around any internal crisis.
Exactly. Making sure that the real chaos, the panic attack, the devastating stress, maybe those really dark thoughts, it all happens strictly in private.
Late at night, maybe, or alone in the car.
Right. Keeping the meltdown firmly under wraps.
But, well, if there's one thing life teaches us, it's that things don't stay perfectly balanced forever. Eventually, something comes along, maybe it's a buildup of pressures that seems almost perfectly designed to just shatter our perspective.
Your ability to reason, to stay calm, to feel in control, it just evaporates. The usual coping mechanisms, they completely fail.
It's like the system just goes critical.
Yeah, all your old psychological maps are suddenly useless. And you realize, with this kind of chilling clarity, okay, I am way off the map here.
In completely uncharted waters.
And the very methods you used to rely on to manage things, they're actually making it worse. They feel like they're drowning you now.
So that's what we're diving into today, navigating that moment of just complete overwhelm.
Yeah.
We're exploring what might be the ultimate human survival mechanism when everything else has just crumbled. The terrifying, but maybe absolutely necessary act of asking for help.
And really looking at what that costs us. Because there is a cost, isn't there? Usually a drop in pride.
Exactly. Unnecessary letting go of control, maybe. And why that specific cost might just be the price of, well, staying alive.
Okay, let's start at the beginning of that downward spiral.
Yeah.
The problem that pushes us towards this edge.
Mm-hmm.
It's rarely a small thing, is it? It's usually a crisis that's been growing.
Yeah, maybe something at work, like a career collapsing.
Mm-hmm.
Or a relationship ending that feels like it's pulling your whole world down.
Or a financial disaster looming, threatening everything. Even just that crushing weight of responsibility for family, maybe.
Right. And as the problem gets bigger, the isolation seems to grow right alongside it, almost exponentially.
It does. You become consumed by it.
Yeah.
And you hit this point where you think, I've genuinely run out of ideas. I don't know who I can possibly trust with this mess.
And that isolation, that's the real danger zone, isn't it? When you cut yourself off like that, your own mind stops being a tool for figuring things out.
It becomes an echo chamber.
Yeah.
A relentless and sometimes really dangerous echo chamber.
Yeah.
And what we see when we look at cognitive stress patterns is that when your executive function collapses under that kind of sustained pressure, your ability to even imagine a future just disappears.
Wow. So you're trapped.
Completely trapped in the agonizing present. And this is the stage where thoughts can, quite frighteningly, get very dark indeed. The mind, just desperately seeking some way to stop the unbearable pain, can start to imagine that, maybe. Maybe it really would be better if you just didn't exist anymore.
Believing that's the only escape hatch from the pressure.
Exactly. And we need to be clear, this isn't being overly dramatic. This is the reality of that moment for some people.
Absolutely. So if we're talking about actual survival, and at this point, it really might be nothing less than that, the overwhelming instinct, the one we're all trained for, is handle it yourself.
Right. Keep it quiet. Manage it alone. We're conditioned practically from childhood to fear confession.
We see revealing that kind of profound weakness as like social suicide or something.
That internal battle is what keeps people stuck right up until the very edge. The thinking goes, if I admit I'm failing this badly, I destroy everything, my reputation, my relationships, my future.
But the terrible irony is that the very strength you're using to hide it, that's precisely what's cutting off any chance of moving forward.
It is. So the question becomes, how do you override that deep, deep impulse to just conceal everything? It feels almost physically impossible sometimes, breaking those isolated habits we've built up over a lifetime.
Yeah, how do you break through that?
Well, often the breakthrough only comes when the choice is essentially taken away from you and stops being about preference or saving face.
It becomes, what, a necessity?
A non-negotiable requirement for survival. Physical, psychological, both. You reach a point where you realize, I might actually not make it if I don't speak up now. That sheer urgency finally outweighs the fear of judgment.
Okay. And that brings us right to the specific price tag you mentioned, the price of survival, the shedding of the carefully curated self.
We call it the necessary drop in pride, but maybe it's more like letting go of the ego, the professional image, that illusion that we have total control over everything.
Yeah, it demands vulnerability, but like the really raw, unedited kind.
Absolutely. This isn't just saying, oh, I'm having a bit of a rough week. This
Mhm.
is, well, it's often a public, or at least semi-public, display of real distress.
So what does that actually look like? What do we have to accept other people seeing?
Well, they might have to see us crying,
Yeah.
the ugly, can't stop it kind of tears that signal a complete collapse.
Okay.
They might have to know that we've done something maybe really foolish or embarrassing or something we deeply regret while trying to fix the mess on our own.
Right. Showing you're not as put together as you want it to seem.
Exactly. We have to show that we're not actually mentally coherent or composed in that moment.
Hmm.
The confusion, the fear has to be visible. We need to admit the sorrow, the panic, maybe even the guilt over mistakes we've made.
Wow. It really does feel like a kind of sacrifice. You're sacrificing that image of your capable self just out of sheer desperate need. It sounds agonizing.
Oh, it is hugely awkward. No question. It's absolutely the last resort for most people.
Yeah.
But if you can manage to take the long view for a second,
Look ahead.
yeah, look ahead decades, you realize that this temporary, truly agonizing humiliation, it might be the only way you actually get to reach your 80s. Maybe see some grandchildren.
So the future is sort of bought with that upfront cost, that moment of public vulnerability.
That's one way to see it. A painful but necessary transaction.
Okay, so let's say you make that internal decision, that desperate choice, I have to speak, then actually doing it is the next huge hurdle.
It is, because even in that state of total desperation, we still tend to lead with apologies, don't we? Trying to minimize the trouble we think we're causing.
Worrying about being a burden.
Exactly. And this is where we often see this kind of template for the essential ask. It's vulnerable, it's hesitant, it really reflects that deep shame we feel about needing help.
So if you're sending that message, that text, that email, that letter, what does it often sound like?
It often starts with trying to shrink the intrusion, right?
Yeah.
Something like, I'm so sorry to bother you with this.
Yeah, I can picture that.
Followed by seeking validation, like, please forgive me for taking up your time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, eventually, the core truth comes out, the really naked part. I honestly thought I could cope with this, but I absolutely can't. I'm feeling completely overwhelmed, and I didn't know who else I could possibly turn to.
That final admission, it feels less like admitting failure and more like I don't know, a triumph of just wanting to survive.
It really is.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating here is the psychological trap we fall into, waiting for the perfect person to tell.
Ah, right. The ideal friend fantasy.
Exactly. In a crisis, we invent this idea of someone who's infinitely wise, totally available, has no problems of their own, and will just get it instantly without any judgment.
But real life isn't like that, is it?
Not at all. The reality is much messier. You probably don't have that mythical guru living next door.
The person you actually reach out to might be, well, a bit awkward themselves, maybe easily scared or genuinely swamped with their own stuff.
Right. They might be a little gauche or prone to panic or just legitimately busy.
Yeah.
And we try to convince ourselves, oh, I should wait. Wait for the perfect moment, the perfect person.
But you can't wait.
You absolutely cannot wait. The deep dive here really suggests the priority isn't finding the perfect confidant. It's simply finding another mind, a functioning external perspective to help out where your own thinking has completely stalled.
You just need to get the message across.
Yeah. Just convey, look, I hope this isn't too much, but I'm completely at sea right now, and I desperately need a light.
And this leads to something quite profound, doesn't it? About the people around us. We seem to fundamentally underestimate what they can actually handle.
We really do. We might have spent years, maybe unconsciously, colluding with our friends to keep everything light and superficial. Let's not burden each other.
Protecting them from our mess and maybe protecting ourselves from their judgment.
Exactly. We project our own fear of vulnerability onto them. We assume they'll judge us harshly or run screaming.
When the reality might be different.
Often, yes. In fact, they have their own complex lives, their own struggles. They're likely far more adept at navigating the inherent messiness and ambiguity of human life than we give them credit for. They're probably more ready for a real conversation than we imagine.
Which brings us to this really beautiful, kind of unexpected twist in the story. The idea of the reciprocal favor.
Ah, yes. The idea that when you ask for help in your absolute darkest hour, you're not just taking, you're actually engaging in an exchange that benefits the other person too.
How so?
Well, we radically underestimate how much we, as human beings,
Yeah.
actually yearn to be truly needed. How much we long for a chance to genuinely help someone else in a significant way.
Why is that?
Because honestly, it makes us feel less useless, less alone. It gives us a sense of purpose when we can offer meaningful support.
So the person confessing, in their complete desperation, they're almost doing the listener a favor.
In a way, yes. By reaching out, they're potentially rescuing the other person from their own quiet sense of isolation, or maybe just the daily grind, and gifting them this feeling of being vitally important, of making a real difference. It's a profound moment of shared humanity.
Okay. So what happens after the confession, when it finally comes out?
Well, it'll probably be messy, let's be real. There will likely be tears, maybe the kind that leave you feeling completely wrung out.
And you, the person confessing, you'll probably feel pathetic, embarrassed.
Almost inevitably, yes. In the immediate aftermath, you'll likely think, oh God, I'm so pathetic. But any kind onlooker, the friend, the family member, whoever it is, they won't see pathetic.
Well, will they see?
They'll perceive that raw, courageous honesty is something incredibly touching and deeply brave.
And the benefits, they come quickly.
Often, yes. Just the act of confessing, of externalizing the pain, helps hugely in itself. Perspective starts to return. The crushing weight lifts, at least a little. And crucially, that relationship has now crossed a significant threshold.
It becomes deeper.
Much deeper. More anchored. That friendship or that bond will become more real than any superficial connection you've had before. The crisis essentially burns away the superficial layer.
Leaving behind something more genuine.
Exactly. Replaced by this profound mutual understanding of each other's real, messy, vulnerable humanity.
So looking back later, that whole terrifying period, how does it transform in memory?
Well, you'll definitely look back on that nightmarish time with a shudder. Of course you will. But alongside the shudder, there's usually immense, almost foundational gratitude.
Gratitude for what?
Gratitude for the incredibly sharp lesson you learned in finally not trying to keep it all locked inside yourself. Gratitude for surviving it and for the person who helped.
And does surviving something like that change you, your behavior going forward?
Oh, absolutely. It changes behavior in this subtle but really lasting way. After you've gone through that necessary surrender of the ego, that admission of needing help,
Yeah.
you almost, without consciously knowing it, start to emit suggestions to other people. Through your demeanor, maybe, or your newfound willingness to be honest, you signal that you would be someone safe to talk to.
During the worst days of their lives.
Exactly. You become, in a way, a beacon, a kind of secure harbor, because you've navigated those same treacherous waters yourself.
So here's a final thought then. If survival in these extreme moments actually demands this admission of fundamental weakness, this I can't cope alone, how does that very admission, that vulnerability, transform us? Could it be that acknowledging weakness is what ultimately makes us the strongest possible source of guidance and support for others? That vulnerability becomes a different kind of strength, something powerful for you to mull over.